I should take a moment to apologize to everybody for like the Mark IV stuff and the van stuff. I know the majority of you are here for old Mark I stuff. So here's an update on all the old Volkswagens in the driveway.
Who's there? Connecting rod.
That's good. Just had to get my daily driver situation situated before I could really dive back into these cars. And though the van and the LS swap is like my priority going into this winter, we are going to try to spend the time and money on the Dasher and the Silver Rabbit here. They don't need much. It all adds up. And anybody watching that has like multiple project old cars as opposed to just one or two knows what I'm talking about. You know, this only needs $1,000. This thing could use only a couple $100 of parts that I could throw at it. They don't necessarily need them. They still run and drive and go down the road. Well, the Dasher, we're waiting on the starter, but we'll get into that in a bit. I'll give you guys a proper update on the Dasher. It just all adds up, and you just kind of leave them loosely on the back burner. Last month or so, since I've gotten the Mark IV, that's my newest, best daily that we've had in about a year. You know, the Stott was good, but we got rid of that so we could get the Dasher. Yada, yada. We're gonna put some time and money into these two cars. We're also gonna work on the Swallowtail a bit today. We're gonna at least get that pulled into the garage and pull out all the parts off the shelves. We have a lot going on. I don't know if we're even gonna get to half of it, but you know, I'd rather sit here and overpromise to myself than sit here and say, yeah, I don't know, maybe we'll try to get some stuff done. Just got new tires for the Dasher. We're back to these hubcaps. I like them. I would kind of prefer to find a second set of these, but at the same time, let's just wait and start driving the car again to see if we do want to change it. I do have an actual set of nice wheels that I want to put on this one day. Here's a bit of a look at the underside of this thing though. It's pretty freaking solid. Like, I love this car. We're definitely not selling this. I've had a couple people ask as I went to sell the Lotus. I posted the silver car for sale for a short while. Everybody was asking like, oh, how much do I want for the Dasher? No, Dasher's not for sale. We're gonna get $2 or $3 grand for a car that I have a lot of emotional investment into already and did quite a fun journey with. Nah, Dasher's not going anywhere, guys. My investment into it's low enough that I'm not bothered to try to free that cash up. What would I get, like $3 grand for this car on a good day? You're having to put another $600 into it? Nah. I know you guys will be surprised to hear this, but the Dasher is broken and not drivable at the moment. Just got them freshies on her for now. No, I should be back on the road next week. And that is because we are waiting for the starter to get rebuilt. Drop that bitch off at the starter rebuilder shop down in near Patterson, New Jersey. I'll leave the link to these guys down in the description of this video. They are the people to go to for starters and alternators. We've used them in the past a bunch on our semi trucks. My dad a couple years ago had a Peterbilt. He dropped both the starter off there, his alternator. Before that, we had other commercial trucks that we had the starters and alternators rebuilt whenever either one of those shit the bed. You could go to these guys to get your alternator rewound to put out more power. You guys already know I'm really good at going off on tangents. So in this particular case, you cannot buy a starter for this car currently, at least a diesel one. 1980 diesel Dasher and 81 through 86 or 87 diesel Quantums use the same starter. Rebuilding starters is not a common thing that these Euro part shops offer. You know, any websites that I'm getting parts for this thing off of have no solution for a starter for me, whether it's rebuilding it or a new one. And I'm not going to spend the time or money finding a secondhand one only for it to fail a year later or 6 months later, or I could put it in and it's junk. And it's not like I could go just ask that seller for a new starter to send me another. So the best option, get this one rebuilt, which is what we're doing. We dropped it off a week or two ago and we should be getting it back next week. So we're just kind of giving you guys an update on the two driver ready cars that we have at the moment, the Swallowtails long-term projects. You guys are about to see a bunch of videos on that going into this winter, so don't worry, we're finally getting some updates on that and we have some good ones coming. Back to the Dasher. All the suspension parts that we discussed in the previous video about the Dasher still need to be addressed. I still need to order ball joints, axles, yada, yada, yada. I am not in a rush to do that, and it technically doesn't need it. And now that we have the 337, we're going to just kind of enjoy this car on the weekends or, you know, on the occasional drive to work. I'm not saying we're not going to do that stuff. I'm just not going to drop the $1,000 on parts for it right now when we're trying to get the van swapped sooner rather than later. The van's priority. We're going to put most of our money into that. I'll probably spend all winter gathering up all sorts of parts for the Dasher, and come springtime, take this thing off the road for a month or so and really spruce it back up. But it aside from the starter, it'll run and drive until something else breaks, and then cool, if it breaks down, we're not as stressed out about it because we have the Mark IV daily now. While we're on the topic of the Dasher, I want to show you guys what I managed to pick up at Euro Summit a couple weeks ago. Boom! How you doing? This is it. Because there are just so many different things that are different about it, and this book will really help, mainly with the suspension components. That's like probably the biggest difference, and then I'd imagine the electrical stuff is vastly different enough to warrant needing this as well. So we managed to pick this up for like $5 at Euro Summit the other week. Awesome. Gonna come in handy. For now, we'll just toss it and leave it there to get potentially water damage in the meantime. So today on the Rabbit, we're gonna actually do a modification to it today. So speaking of Euro Summit, we got ourselves a rear fog light for the Silver Rabbit. So we're gonna throw that on today. We also scored these at Euro Summit. Not bad for 20 bucks. I don't need them. I just feel like let's not talk about it. Oh, I also scored this for $5. Scored this for $5. So we'll see if this fits the Dasher, because that's what this is supposedly for. Welcome to ADHD Customs, where we work on one thing 1 minute and work on another thing the other second. Next thing you know, we're not getting jack shit done in a timely manner because we're too busy being dumb. Let's see. Boom. I don't think so. I don't think this is the right one. Pop this little base plate out and see what's up. No, not at all the same. But can we take this base plate and make it work? Maybe. So I think we're going to run with it. I mean, I'm into it for $5 and I got no other car that needs it, so. So I'm very much looking forward to driving this car again. Being able to drive it without stressing out about it being my only mode of transportation. I know the last time you guys saw me filming this car, I was talking about how, like, we're driving only old cars again. I came to the realization that the Lotus is cool, but not stressing out about how to get around or get upstate is cooler. That's what they say nowadays. Is that what all the cool kids say? There we go. And I look like less like an idiot. I don't know. Looks pretty shitty, but also looks a lot less shitty than this. We'll hang on to this trim ring here. We'll probably epoxy it back together because it's cracked right there. Try to figure out some kind of proper shift boot. In the meantime, this is okay. I'm going to extend the shift tower back up. Previous owner cut it down and didn't even rethread it. So we're just running around like all willy-nilly. This thing's spinning and falling off all the time. Cool. So we'll pop that off, clean it up, and we'll at least have a little bit better looking shifter boot. It's enough fiddling with the Dasher for today. So back to the Silver Rabbit. Let's go ahead and see what's inside of this thing. For those who don't know what a rear fog light is, if you needed a visual reference, here you go. It is brighter than your actual running lights. It allows these assholes not paying attention to see you better and not trash your pride and joy. And it's also going to look really cool hanging off of the bumper there. Aesthetically, even when they're not in use, I think they look cool. I don't know who did this. If you're watching, I'll give you some credit. It took me a couple months to realize that this was your bumper strip. Just some black duct tape. So we're just going to put some fresh black duct tape on there one day. It's not going to be today, but not going to be tomorrow either. But one day we will. Pretty cool to see this. Within the instructions are just like a little promotional packet to show you all the other hella stuff they were selling. And the switch. This is what I've been most curious about. Do we mount this switch? Do we actually use this switch? I don't know what you guys think we should do. I don't like the size of it. It's going to look out of place. I mean, like, where the hell would we put it? got the actual fog light. Okay, so I have this just mocked up just to make sure everything works before I get ahead of myself. I mean, not a big deal to buy a new switch if the switch is junk and I see nothing that would lead me to believe that the light itself won't work. If the switch fails, not too hard to find, you know, another switch that would work. I kind of don't like this one, but for the sake of just making it what it's supposed to be, I don't exactly hate it. And this one does light up, I believe. So we've got this mocked up, and I'll just run through quick for anybody not too familiar with wiring, how this works. If you're feeling like this isn't something you could take on yourself, I assure you it probably is. So just to show you how this works, you've got your one main wire running off one of the connectors here that goes all the way down to the back of the car to where your light's mounted up. This is a power wire. This only gets power sent through it when you turn the switch on. So power goes through the switch, and it actually gets power from your, this would plug into your side marker light here, or any other switched power. I'm gonna run it to the side marker just because that makes the most sense. That way that when the lights are on, then we can use the rear fog. We don't want to have that on. I don't see much of a reason to turn that on unless we have somebody riding our ass. So, which will take all of 2 button switches, which will only take 1 extra button switch to turn this on and tell somebody to get the fuck off my ass. This would get attached to the spade on your actual side marker itself, and then it gives you another male prong to run the power that would normally plug into the side marker into that first. So kind of nice that you don't have to do any cutting or soldering really. We need to get some spade connectors so we could hook this up proper. We've got that rigged up too as well. And then lastly, you've got 1 ground wire that would go to like the firewall or the door jambs. You should have no problem finding an actual piece of chassis metal to latch onto and ground everything and make it nice and safe and functioning. You should be able to just jam this against the positive terminal there on the battery and get that to work. The other thing at play here, which I forgot to mention, this gets grounded out when you actually mount it to your bumpers. You see, as it's not touching metal, it's not going to work. So if you are mounting this to a plastic bumper, you'll have to run a new ground wire. Not a big deal. You just run it to the back there, out the housing, and then get it onto the chassis there. Didn't get any videos of it mounted up and on, but here's some pictures of it. Not exactly my first choice of where to put it, but there are already existing holes there on the bumper. It's better than drilling holes, so can always move it later. We'll leave it there for now and see how I like it. Thanks, Bill Kuiper, for the harness and all the rice with it. If you guys can't tell, he's not exactly a fan of what we're doing. We're not going to talk about what we're doing. We're just going to start doing it because we've done that enough. Enough talking around here. This winter is shaping up to be the winter to get this done. If you want to know more, check the other videos in the playlist and in the description below.
I'm having a party.
So first order of business, we got to get this harness put in there. This is just a regular stock Mark 1 like lighting harness for an early rabbit or swallowtail rabbit. I'm not sure if they're very different, but this car has no wiring whatsoever. So let's go ahead and get this harness put in.